Sultan Didi, you're a Khadi on the internet. I'm back. I was outside. You guys can see this is the outside face. This is the face, okay? I was outside. I went for like sundowners and stuff. As my friend says, if I'm strong enough to get up and say something at his funeral, I should say he loves sundowners. He loved sundowners. He did. He does love to watch a good sunset with a drink in hand, you know, at a picturesque kind of location. So that's what I went to do, and I'm like, let me do my makeup because I want to come back and record, and just I haven't been on here in a while. I should at least come back and look decent when I want to speak to these people. I'd recorded a video about the Mohale and whatever thing, but there was this loud music from this fucking tavern that like blasts music all weekend, like all throughout the weekend in the background, so I can't use the footage. So I'm like, I'm gonna get back down here. I want to talk about the Mohale and Somizi incident, tell-all that Mohale did with Showmax, and he was interviewed by Aldrin. Aldrin did a good job. I love the location. I love the style, the interview style that he chose to use for this. It wasn't very, he wasn't trying to interrogate him or mine him for stuff. A lot of what we heard was already in the public space, because things have been coming out since they split. Really nasty things have been coming out. This one's been saying that, but I saw earlier, I'm on my phone, I saw earlier that on my Pepandaba they had posted some pictures of what they're alleging is a bruised and battered Mohale from when he was in that relationship with one Somizi. So I just wanted to see if there isn't an update since that. At the time of recording, it's like 1 day ago, so 24 hours ago. When I'd left for my sundowners, it was still 20 something hours ago. But that's what we're seeing. Anyway, let me get into it. We see Mohale and his family. We get to meet his family, which was, I suppose, Showmax's way of trying to humanize this person for us and give us context. Like, this was a person with a full life. This is still a person with a full life outside of Somizi, because we know him as an extension of Somizi, because Somizi was the established public figure at this point. So that's what we see in the interview. Small back and forth little chats with him and Aldrin in the beginning, and then we get into the meat of it all. And he asked them about, he segues into talking about Somizi. He asked him a question about, is he bisexual or gay? And then he says he's gay. He's like, I'm only asking. Aldrin says, I'm only asking because it came up on the show and you had mentioned some interest in women. And Mohale then replies to say, I've done the work. I've asked myself enough questions. And the issue of women was coming up because I am interested in eventually having kids. And women are the ones with the women. That was that argument. And then Aldrin says this conversation happened on the show with Somizi, and that's how we segue our way into talking about their relationship and what have you. We get to, listen, Showmax is like, Mohale, bitch, I'm suspecting. Okay, we have you on contract. This is Mariki from HR, who's like, I love Mohale. Yeah, hi Mohale. So we have you on contract for another season, and it looks like you broke up. Yeah. Sorry about that. Hey. So what we're thinking is maybe you sit down for a towel just so you meet the obligations of that contract to already have you locked in. Because, I mean, honestly, like this, anyway, they're all the footage, so it makes for an interesting visual watch, because they've documented that literally the genesi of the relationship all throughout. So if you want to watch it, you get to see all that spectacle of a wedding that they have and all of that, because Showmax essentially owns their lives. And then Mariki obviously hung up when, you know, he had to agree, he had no other choice. And I'm sure she said, yeah, Strongs, hey. And then now he has to sit with Aldrin and tell us all their shit. I love that for us. He sits down, they're talking about this, and then quite quickly all the allegations of the abuse comes through. Mohale makes it seem like there was always a pattern of, we get into an argument, it gets heated, he wants to get physical, he doesn't know how to, he's alleging from what he's saying that this person clearly doesn't know how to regulate their emotions. They are in a pattern of, we throw hands, like this is what we do. This is what he's alleging. They talk about the divorce. Somizi saying on the show that Mohale wants half. We see the receipts where Mohale's, the papers that he sent to Somizi, he's not asking for half, he's asking for that everybody keep their own assets and stuff, and that what he wants is half of his share of the amount that they were paid for the wedding special. It's 1.5 million, so they're getting half each. What's that, 750 each, give or take. And then I'm no numbers girl, I could be off on that, I don't care. And then he's also saying that a car that Somizi damaged, like practically drove him off the road while he was in it, he needs that car replaced or fixed or whatever the issue is, and he says these things have still not been done. And he said, we see the screenshots of these documents where he says, this is what I asked for. I'm inclined to believe him because the receipts were there. I really am. And then he says that Somizi is the one who came back and said, no, they should split things this way. And it looks like he had done that for TV. He had fabricated that to make the season a little bit more interesting, allegedly. So I am inclined to believe Mohale here. If it's an issue of taking sides, I'm going to have to take Mohale's side. Yeah, I don't really believe in taking sides. Really, overall, if you guys must know, if you really want to know, I just believe Mohale overall. The interesting part here that I would like to give, because that's the breakdown of the entire interview, really. That's it. It's really it. We get to learn he did this, he did that. Then we see a clip of Somizi on his reality show, because Showmax owns all this footage, right? So we get to... It's nice, guys, it's nice. And then we get to see him sitting down with a friend of his. Guys, I'm old, so I remember backstage, and for whatever reason, I remember her playing Charmaine on Backstage, but the lady that was also on the prison show that everybody liked, I forget her name. She's also a dancer, she's a choreographer. I suppose that's where friendship stems from. So what we see is she says to him, directly asks him, but like, friend, did you hit him? Somizi doesn't answer the question directly. Somizi dances around the question. He says in this clip that, you know, people want to start talking about, or maybe that's the edit he got, but that edit, this is how it went down. He says, no, people want to talk about whether or not she hit somebody. Nobody wants to talk about the incidences leading up to this thing. What you are failing to understand, Mr. Ma'am, is that there are no incidences that lead up to you throwing hands. Like, there's never a moment where we can justify you putting hands on somebody, because things escalate so quickly. People lose their lives in, like, you know, these rages, these like passion moments, or somebody loses control and you put your hands on somebody, and before you know it, Mutugongele Mo is on the floor bleeding out, and now what? That's why a lot of people are like, the whole putting hands on people, it escalates like that, it moves just like that, and then the next thing, okay, it's slow singing and flower bringing at somebody's home because somebody had to get physical. So that's why personally I'm against violence, right? We can always talk things through. But the conversation I really want to have, and I suppose I'm building off the conversation I had off the interview, this Telo and the video I did of Telo and the Mpisani boy, and just really the conversation around women wanting to be kept, or people. In this instance, we have two people who are male identifying that are in a relationship, and I think this is where the insensitivity walks in, where our homophobia society jumps out. We want to make like this is not as severe, but if Mohale was a young girl in a relationship, he was 22 years of age when he got with Somizi. You've barely lived life at 22, right? He got with Somizi at this age, a person who's well off, well known, well connected, has money, has access to stuff, comes into your life, offering you all of these things. You quit your job at his request, because he's saying, this is what Mohale says in the interview, because he's saying being with him, simply being tethered to him, will create opportunities for you to make more income, and 9 to 5 is no longer what you need to rely on. You're in love with this person, he's much older than you, you're doing all of this traveling, you want to trust him, you want to trust his intentions that he's gonna want to take care of you. He's fucking not. That is somebody, quite literally, it's a classic tactic of manipulation. It's a manipulation tactic. It's literally a way to sever ties with autonomy, independence. It's like, it's right next to, soon rather than later, you morph into this other person that serves the needs of this other person. You you blend into their life and everything about you is tethered to what they're doing so that they can maintain control over you. How do you tell somebody who, I mean, they got engaged, what, 6 months into dating or what have you? They've been together, what, 3 months at the mark that Mohale alleges that this is when he said that I need to quit my job because opportunities would come my way and he would support them, but this is not what happened. This was never gonna be what happens, because oftentimes when you're involved with a much older, and this is the conversation I'd like to have, here we go. So when you're involved with a much older person who's amassed numerous things, right? The trappings of wealth is what I talk about in that video that I tell you that I did. I think it was probably my second video on the channel. The person wants to maintain control over you in order to quell their insecurities. You're much younger, much hotter, you have time on your hands. So given the opportunity, luck and drive, you will make your own money. You will no longer need them. Like once they do the calculation that this person is probably with me for all that I can offer them. So if they can do these things for themselves, that renders me useless. This person can discard of me. And so it's a scary thing. And that's why I'm inclined to believe Mohale when he says in the interview that Somizi started cutting my opportunities off. He'd go behind my back and like sabotage deals is what he alleges. Sent a friend of his to sabotage something he was gonna work on with the Fergusons. Somebody who was also on the show, a friend that was on the show, I forget his name. I'm inclined to believe those things because when we ask the question often that, how come sugar daddies will buy you that bag you want and get you your nails done and do this, but when you want them to invest in something real, something tangible that's going to improve your life, the waters get iffy, they get funny. That is them sabotaging themselves. Me creating an opportunity for you to be economically free is me saying you are allowed to leave me, because that's all I'm good for. Right? I'm good for giving you money. I'm good. And he's a beautiful young man, Mohale. Very, very good looking. This is the thing, you guys. A man is not going to get you out of like your mom's mud house and then build you up and make you something. That's never going to happen. Like you having autonomy over yourself is never the goal. There's a reason he came to you. He has people in his own age group that are good looking that he could have got with, but he couldn't get away with all the shit that he can get away with little you Mohale or little you girl or whomever. That's how this works. If you do not have the means to move around and be mobile and make autonomy, that's the word I'm looking for. If you do not have that, then you are at risk of somebody kicking you, which is what Mohale says Somizi was doing. He says Somizi would hit him, kick him and says, it's this face of yours, I need to mess it up because it's messing up my vibe. From what Mohale alleges, Somizi was suffering from, he had fallen into the trope of like the single successful black woman, the one that Tyler Perry likes to make movies about. You know Gabriel Union's character in Daddy's Little Girls? You're this well-accomplished thing. Oh my God, reminds me of my favorite Jet. About all I need. Come through Tebe with the lyrics. Anyway, Linyora, that is the jam that I'm talking about, where he talks about, you know, you got all of this, you got your pusher compressor, you've got your X5, you know, you've got, what is it, is it your polo shirt or what have you, or something warm, something nice, something cute to cuddle. What's that cuddles? The warmth of a man, Miss Wendy likes to say. That's what you're missing. So Mohale feels like Somizi had it all at this point. This is his career finally took off, because y'all know that career was struggling for a bit. Like a lot of you like to act like you have amnesia over the fact he did the Madame Gigi stick, he did this, and then this new thing stuck, and now he's Somizi, you know. But if you're old enough, you remember him being washed and fucking raggedy. I'm old enough to remember being washed and fucking raggedy, right? And then he had to get it out the fucking mud. So how dare you, Mohale, right? That's the logic of an abuser, an alleged abuser in this instance. How dare you, when I had to get it out the mud, I'm over here people telling me I'm ugly every fucking 2 minutes no matter how much I cake my fucking face. You think you're gonna come in and have it easy? No, I'm gonna make you grovel. I'm gonna make you work for every little thing, and I'm gonna make you feel it. So it seems like he was suffering from not having a partner, and he wanted so much from his, and a lot of you women suffer from this. I actually came across a TikTok today talking about that clip that Hulisani, formerly known as Sissy, if you were young enough, you remember Yo TV, she had that relationship with Cypher, who's now married and is expecting a child. I think they posted a month ago. So people keep throwing in this girl's face that he wasted 10 years of your life, girl, and you never got a ring. And I went to the comments to see, like, we are still very much a conservative country who buys into this idea of you need marriage. And since gay people so badly want to model this like heteronormative setup we have going on, these weird like structures of marriage and what have you, they very much want to model this dynamic that doesn't even work for me as like a person who is unfortunately attracted to men. It's unfortunate, you guys. It doesn't work. But they so badly, I mean, you see the footage of him going to Gabo Mohale, Unchamaradi, Ugoko, Taudia, all of those things. And I'm like, for fucking why? He needed it. Society says this is success, right? You have amassed all these things now. You've accumulated all these things. You're successful in all the standards that society says these are the markers. Boom, 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 boom. You've hit all those markers. What do you need now, Linyora? Get the fuck out. Linyora is what the fuck you need. So he had to have it. But he needed to be in control of the situation at all times, because real love is vulnerable. It requires too much vulnerability, too much sacrifice, too much trust. And the world we live in today is not conducive for somebody to risk it all like that, especially because he knows where he's been. He knows what it's like to work, and your things not pan out. And now his shit is finally taking shape, and he's Somizi. You know, he has this good fan base, this good job. He gets these good hosting gigs and what have you. He's not about to fuck that up for himself. But to complete his picture, he needed to have this pretty person, right? It was only going to work if Mohale was young, stupid, and naive, which he was. He was 22 years. We are all young, stupid, and naive at 22 years old. There is a reason. Whenever a man of a particular age, nyonyovelas, a person of much younger, who's a much younger, has lived less life, something is wrong there. Why are you not chilling with people of your own age? Why are you not pursuing people closer to you in age, who've lived as much life, who are as fucked up and jaded as you, if that's the case, who have the same reasoning capacity, the same life experiences as you? Something is wrong there. I know when you're younger and a much older person pursues you, you're like, oh my God, friend, like, he's older, he's mature. No, bitch. If he was mature, he'd be sitting with the mature people, having matured conversation. But he's over there with 22-year-old Mohale because he knows he can manipulate that situation. He does not want to take the risk that is involved with being in love, because it's a risky business. That's why I stay the fuck out of it. You won't find me saying I'm in love. Not anytime soon. I mean, if y'all do, just don't remember this part of the video. Right? Like, don't call me and be like, oh, we thought you said, shut up, girl. But that's not the point. That's the conversation I just wanted to have, that the dynamic never made sense. We didn't want to question it or talk about it much because it's a man and a man, and we want to assume that dynamic is different. But at 22, we all know very little. I don't want to judge Mohale for finding himself in this situation, because a lot of women, my own friends, have found themselves in a similar situation, getting involved with a much older person of means, thinking that, okay, this person is gonna tell, or people just around you. You see it all the time, right? It's encouraged. Find somebody who's gonna take care of you and what have you. So judging Mohale, which I've seen, like, oh, why didn't you just leave? Or why do you guys so badly want the onus to be put on the victim? Why? Somizi on his own fucking show does not dispute having put hands on this young man, allegedly. So who are you now to be like, oh, Mohale, just because you like somebody? A lot of you are doing it because it's a guy. If that was a young lady and Somizi had done that to a young lady, that'd be real outrage. That's all I wanted to say, Yella. Hopefully I get to chop this up and get it out to you guys by whenever. I don't know. Mwah. Also, Irv Gotti needs to keep fucking Ashanti's name out of his mouth. He's another one. Irv is another one who got abused, used his power when he had Ashanti signed to his label in her late teens, closer to 20. He was already a married man. He's on Noriega's fucking podcast. Can't keep this woman's name out of his fucking mouth. He was married at the time. He literally cannot comprehend in his little brain how this woman untethered himself from him, right? Because that's the thing. It literally mirrors the situation of Somizi. It's quite astonishing where it's like much older person, more influence, gets with this person. Irv on top of that was producing her music, right? Helping her get her album out because he owned Murder Inc. or part owner, whatever the fuck he was, but Murder Inc. was him, and he was Murder Inc. and Ja Rule and them was signed to him and what have you. They were running the industry for quite a period there. This man cannot believe that this woman who was, because that's the thing. When men know that you're much younger, that naivete that they know they can tug on and manipulate, when it clicks for you that I don't have to be here and you get out and they can't comprehend. They think so highly of themselves that they thought they had you manipulated down. Like had you done. You were never, because we've seen it. We've seen Mampincha and Babes. Why am I having this conversation? Because it's the same thing. He got to her when she was a teenager too. He's got her manipulated, done and finished. She's for me, she will never see her way out of that fucking fog, right? Because this is all she knows. So when you break free of that, their brains can't compute because as far as they know, this formula works. Somizi now, I don't believe he can compute that Mohale actually dared to leave him. And don't come here and tell me about that fucking phone call he made when he was probably drunk on New Year's Eve. We don't even know if it was Mohale calling. It could have been one of his friends and they swapped the number and they called and it said Mohale. I didn't put it past them. Anyway, bye guys.